Everybody, this is Brian Vincent from Securematics. I appreciate you being here today, and I'd like to welcome some of our new customers. Those of you that may not be familiar with Securematics, we're a disty here located in San Diego, California. We specialize really in Juniper. That's our ecosystem, and we're also obviously users of Juniper as well. And we're really proud today to bring this presentation, this business opportunity, this conversation that you can have with your customers, because you know that often it's a little bit difficult for us to come to the table with something a little bit new, you know, as a community to our customers or end users. Of course, the COVID-19 situation has presented some very unique opportunities. Plus also how, you know, technology could really help us get back to work and get our institutions, our educational institutions back in the classroom responsibly and safely. What I wanted to do today is we have Gavin Lee here from Juniper Networks. He's the K12 education industry practice leader. I sat through this presentation yesterday, and I'm telling you, you've got really something special here that you, as a customer of ours, could start the conversation with your customers. It's very compelling. He covers a lot of areas between technology stacks and the not only that, but the opportunities out there and where they are. And I know we only have an hour, so I want to basically shut up and hand it over to Gavin, because I'm really pumped at what he's got to present here today. So Gavin, if you will, please take the floor and let's get started.
Thank you, Brian, and thank you for the folks attending and spending the next hour with us here. I have a content-packed agenda today, and the title of our presentation today is around getting ready for E-Rate 2021. But I'm also going to share with you some interesting solutions that could help school districts look to reopen their campuses safely to students and teachers. Okay, so with that, the highlights of my presentation today will be as follows. We're going to talk about some of the exciting deployments that we have experienced in the last year for our AI-driven digital learning ready networks. As many of you know, about a year ago, Juniper Networks acquired Mist Systems, an AI-driven wireless LAN infrastructure manufacturer. A lot of history with folks that came from the industry from the very, very beginning, putting all that knowledge in terms of improving the overall Wi-Fi experience. So we've got some really great K12 customers who have experienced the benefits of that. For funding year 2021, the E-Rate program is set for a new round of fresh budgets, Category 2 budgets for E-Rate applicants. So I'm assuming that this audience are all participants or are targeting to participate in the E-Rate program. So it's a huge funding program. It is the largest technology funding program for K12 in the US, run by the FCC. The third thing I'm going to talk about is some exciting E-Rate offerings from Juniper, Juniper Mist, covering both wired and wireless. These will provide you the bulk of the solutions that you would be positioning to your E-Rate or K12 customers. We'll also talk about the impact of COVID and the CARES Act relief fund that was signed back in March that has put in the hands of school districts a tremendous amount of funding to help support their response for COVID. And I'll be talking about a couple of solutions that play into that. And then I'll wrap it up by sharing with you some of the sales enablement assets that are available to you. Okay, so with that, let's start by talking about what our school district customers are saying about our solution here. So most of these districts had deployed kind of the large name brand manufacturer products out there for their wired and wireless. and they made the switch to Juniper. Some of them from spending many years using the competitive offerings here. But the challenge they faced was that even though the network was up, people were still complaining about Wi-Fi. People were using that as a metaphor for complaining about many other things that may have been directly associated with Wi-Fi, but also backend systems. Could be the wired network, could be your DHCP servers, and so forth. So Wadsworth City Schools, Capel ISD, Ashland School District all took the leap to deploy Juniper Mist, and they ended up with a solution that has grown in their kind of affection, but also they have turned a lot of those kind of trouble tickets into very small numbers, and end user complaints have been reduced dramatically because the tool set is focused on the satisfaction of the end user, not on necessarily on the health of the network, okay? Because you could look at an IP, it looks like it's up, but then people are still complaining. So I invite you to, when you get a copy of this PDF, the titles have links embedded in there where you can actually download the actual case studies for these customers. Juniper's K12 solution is focused on these use cases, okay? So if you are kind of looking at E-rate opportunities here, many of them are in terms of building out and bringing high-speed broadband connections to classrooms, okay? So that's the number one. E-rate also looks at funding Category 1 services, and this deals with bringing in internet access service to a school district, but also interconnecting school campuses together by way of wide area network connections here. E-rate also supports the funding of firewalls, the basic firewalls that are available here. Juniper offers its own next generation firewall, but also a whole variety of next generation firewall services and advanced threat protection capabilities that are targeted at addressing malware, as well as DDoS attacks, phishing, ransomware attacks, and so forth here. We also are going to be talking to you about a solution called proximity tracing. And one of the things we'll show you here is that because we've embedded a patented BLE array, antenna array inside of our access points here, we can actually offer location services and engagement services that are unique to Juniper and unique to the industry here. And this could be applied for this use case called contact tracing or proximity tracing here. Our portfolio is a very strong portfolio for E-rate applicants. They range from our switching portfolio, which is the EX and QFX series switches, our wireless LAN portfolio, which is the Mist brand. We have a whole variety of access points, which I'm going to be pointing out, as well as the routing portfolio. A lot of our major education and research networks use our MX routers. Out in California, for instance, Scenic, for those who are familiar with Scenic, they are standardized on Juniper MX series routers, and the COEs, the education service agencies, as well as the very large school districts across the country, which need a tremendous amount of routing performance. Our SRX series next generation firewalls are there as well. And we have a range of very small branch level firewalls all the way up to a terabit grade service provider class next generation firewalls. So the main workhorse that you'll see for most of your school district K12 E-rate opportunities is what you see here. This is what we call our AI-driven digital learning ready network solutions for schools, okay? It is, the foundation of this is built through our Mist cloud. This is a cloud-based environment. There's no client or premise-based appliance for managing the network here. The Mist Cloud is built using microservices. So school districts avoid the necessity of managing appliances, as well as the monolithic software code that goes in that, which they may not touch for 6 to 12 months because of its monolithic nature here. Microservices builds agility, it builds reliability, and allows us to bring in new updates every week compared to the competition. A set of Mist cloud services are available. The Wi-Fi assurance is a capability to support bringing Wi-Fi to classes. Wired assurance is there to support the capabilities as part of a wired infrastructure, or EX. WAN assurance is for SD-WAN applications. And what's unique to Juniper Mist is this Marvis Virtual Network Assistant, which is a capability to really improve the efficiency of operating such a network using artificial intelligence and machine learning here. We have some additional optional cloud services. These are designed for location-based services, which I'll talk about shortly. For our infrastructure, we have a whole array of indoor and outdoor access points. What you're seeing here are our Wave 6 standard access points. We also have an access point which is a BLE antenna array only. Does not support Wi-Fi. So we have some clients who are looking to implement location services independently of their Wi-Fi. They would deploy this. Our wired infrastructure that falls under this cloud infrastructure is our EX family of switches, as well as our SRX next generation firewall. Okay, and this is just to give you a deeper look at our EX and QFX switches. Our EX switches in this green area represents the most popular switches for access applications. And over here, we have our distribution and core switches here. So many school districts use this portfolio for their traffic aggregation, wide area network applications, both category 1 and category 2 applications commonly use these platforms. I've indicated under here which ones are managed under the Mist cloud service called Wire Assurance, and we'll talk about kind of the special E-rate offerings that we have around this selection here. So as a summary for this portfolio, for those very familiar with E-rate, you know that they have what they call Category 1 services. These are for internet access and wide area network data connections here. Category 1 could also include the deployment of fiber-based solutions. So in the case where a school district has their own fiber, or they're leasing dark fiber, they can light up that fiber under what they call network equipment or modulating electronics. And I have shown by tick marks which are the platforms that have been commonly deployed under Category 1. Under Category 2, this deals with the internal connections within school campuses, and they include access points, cabling, firewall switches, routers, the software and licensing that falls underneath them. I've shown here the tick marks. There's also managed internal broadband services, which is a kind of a managed service of these particular services, and also support services. And we're talking about basic maintenance only. So for Juniper, we offer the Juniper Care Core services, which is 100% eligible. If they want to take a step up in terms of SLAs and so forth, those are partially eligible up to the portion equivalent to the Juniper Care Core services. And primarily, this deals with technical support, software upgrades, bug fixes, patches, and so forth. and we'll get into the little details of that a little shortly. Okay, so let me just kind of give you guys a view of kind of our latest E-rate offerings. These are special offerings that we have that are specially priced. There's 3 sets of them. One is what we call the special EX series Ethernet switches. Basically, it is when you purchase one of these, you get the base EX switch system plus 3 years of next day support in this bundle. These bundles are following this SKU nomenclature with the EDU at the end. We also have a Wi-Fi bundle. We call it the MIS Wireless LAN E-rate bundle. It includes your choice of these access points, 2 MIS services. This would be the Wi-Fi assurance and the Marvis virtual assistant, and support. They come in 1, 3, or 5-year license terms. 5-year is actually the most popular term that we're seeing across the country from an E-rate perspective, and there's a total of 15 of these SKUs. The third is our Juniper EX wired assurance bundle. So this is for the kind of switching version that bundles the base switch hardware system, 2 MIS services, and then a support. And they come in a 3 or 5-year license term, a total of 42 SKUs. All these are specially priced, and make sure when you ask for a quote to mention that your opportunity is for E-rate or for a K12 customer, and you should be then set up to get that special pricing associated with these. So very quickly, the first one is the special EX series switches. There's 24 of these. Here are the wireless LAN bundles, and you'll see there's 15 of these SKUs. They include 2 MIS services, 1, 3, or 5-year terms. All right, and these are for the various models of access points that we have. And this is the EX wired assurance and bundles. This includes 2 MIS services and available as a 3-year or 5-year support. So all these, it simplifies the whole ordering process. You order these single SKUs and you get the hardware, you get the MIS cloud services and the support based on the term that is selected here. All right, so I won't spend any more time on that. I want to get onto another topic that's very important for school districts today. As you know, depending on where you are in the country here, school districts have started to reopen, and they may have decided to reopen either as a fully remote online, a hybrid, which is a mix of in-class and online, or 100% traditional. There's also some indications that for elementary school kids, like in California, K to 6, kindergarten to 6, there is a belief that those kids are not are very a low probability of getting COVID, transmitting COVID, or being hospitalized. Those schools are being open, subject to the county monitoring of cases for a particular county here. But all of them are struggling to make the decision to reopen, and that impacts the community, impacts teachers, parents, and so forth. So what I'm going to be talking about here is this technology that you saw earlier, how we could leverage this technology to safely return teachers and students back on campus. So let me just start first by putting together this kind of rationale here. So so imagine a teacher or a student, they've been on campus, but they've been tested positive. All right, maybe they inadvertently, was asymptomatic before, but we discovered that they in fact tested positive or show symptoms here. So the questions that district leaders need to know is, how do you know where they physically been on campus? How do we know how long they've been there and in which areas of campus? The other thing is, because of potential exposure, who were they in contact with? How long were they in contact with? So the latest guidance on social distancing and is about, you got to keep people away from each other for at least 6 feet. But if the person has been exposed, 15 minutes of exposure seems to be the threshold by which you would be concerned, and therefore you need to contact these individuals who may have been exposed. The other question is, as you may have seen, a lot of kids, maybe adults, may inadvertently congregate in areas in high numbers, all right? So then the question is, where are these happening? And how do you go about kind of sending alerts or notification to break that up? The other thing is, if these areas showed high congregations of individuals, I better, after the school bell finishes, direct the custodial staff to maybe go in there and apply added disinfection, added cleaning to prepare for the next day here. Okay, so it all comes down to, how do I notify individuals of exposure and figure out where they've been? All right. So Juniper, Miss, we have our proximity tracing solution, and it falls into 3 use cases in K12. The first one is what we call user journey mapping. This is a capability where we can view visited zones on campus and time durations that were spent in the zone by the individual who may have reported testing positive or showing symptoms, okay? The second one is proximity tracing, which is ability to quickly identify who were in proximity of the individuals who reported testing positive or showing symptoms for COVID-19. The third is hot zone alerting, is the ability to view in real time the number of individuals in a zone and monitor compliance to capacity limits. So for instance, in a classroom, you may want to set your capacity limit to say 20 or 15. And we can, through these capabilities, figure out whether we see 9, 10, 12, and when it exceeds the 15, we can flag that as a non-compliant situation and alert the authorities to take remedial action here. This capability of hot zone alerting also allows us to have insights to deal with, assigning for deeper cleaning, disinfections, and so forth, and also diverting traffic away from these congested areas. So how do we do this? Well, we leverage our AI-driven Wi-Fi infrastructure. It consists of access points, and these access points have an integrated patented Bluetooth low energy antenna array. And it's unlike our competitors, where they may have external battery beacons or kind of that require manual tuning. All this is integrated in the access point. And it is used to help locate users who have either a wireless device, could be or a mobile app running on their device, or it could be that they are wearing a BLE ID badge. All right. And we then also include the use of the Mist cloud services. So the cloud services allows us to do zone-based analytics, provide real-time reporting on the hot zones, do the user journey map reporting, proximity tracing reports, and compliance reports here. The Mist cloud services will use Wi-Fi assurance, and it also will require these optional services for location services, premium analytics, user engagement, asset visibility, if you want to use the BLE badges here. So There's also an ecosystem that surrounds this. This could be third-party applications. Say a school district is running their own mobile app. You can integrate a proximity tracing mobile app in there as well to support that for these devices. But of course, the mobile app has to be running for it to run. All right. We also work with integration partners who provide third-party tags, other solutions, and so forth. So the good thing here is proximity tracing, contact tracing are eligible expenditures as part of the CARES Act relief funding that was passed. And for school districts, some $13 billion were allotted to school districts as part of the CARES Act relief funds. So a few words about the CARES Act. It was signed into a law in March, $2.2 trillion, of which $30.7 billion was assigned to the Education Stabilization Fund, which is managed by the U.S. Department of Education. It's broken down into 4 grant programs. The one that we're talking about today is the Elementary and Secondary School Emergency Relief Fund, $13.2 billion. It's been distributed to the states, to the individual Department of Educations of every state. And then from there, allocations were made to every school district that were receiving funding under the Title I program, which is a program dealing with providing funding support for high poverty schools, okay? So depending on the states that you are focusing on, you should be able to download a copy of a spreadsheet or a PDF with all these allocations on an individual school district basis for that state here, all right? There's also monies for higher education, also discretionary funds for the governor to provide added aid to schools and universities and so forth, okay? But if you want to read more, I've provided the link up there. So when you look at the specifics of the grant, the Elementary and Secondary School Emergency Relief Fund, the grant program runs from May 15th, 2020 through June 30th, 2021 with a 12-month carryover. The important thing is districts can commit and expend these funds between March the 13th for expenditures between March 13th, 2020 through 9/30/2022. Now, a lot of school districts are hurting, so I'm pretty sure most are not going to wait till 2022 to get this thing spent here. I urge you, if you have relationships with school districts here, to start the conversation early on to see whether in fact they are interested in leveraging some of this funding to help them on the following, okay? So in the ESSER regulations here, there are specifically 12 areas that they spelled out, which what are the eligible funding areas, okay? I've highlighted here 5 of these for this one. Section D3, address school-specific needs. Section D5, improve preparedness and response. Section D8, plan how to provide online learning technology. Section D9, purchasing educational technology to aid in regular substantial education interaction. D12, maintain the operation of and the continuity of services of the local education agency, which is a school district, okay? Juniper has solutions across the board here. Proximity tracing, which is what I just spoke about. For those who are expanding the worker at home, the teacher at home, there's a solution called the Enterprise at Home solution or Staff at Home. Switching and routing, as they expand the needs to support remote learning and remote workers, their network infrastructure may have a gap in terms of capacity, and they would need to kind of shore up that by way of switching and routing, as well as opening up remote learning, opens up gaps in terms of security. So Juniper Connected Security Solution. So I put a check marks in terms of each of these areas here, and these would be great conversation areas to have going with your school district contacts on this. Now I stress that the IT folks at school districts, should be made aware of it. But in order to establish a broader buy-in, you probably have to engage or have conversations brokered with the superintendents, the folks dealing with school campus facilities and health to kind of start the conversation. And I've seen also that the Board of Education needs to also buy in that this could be a central strategy to help with their plans to reopen schools and keep them open safely as well. All right, so let me move on here. Okay, so let me give you a quick rundown on some of the latest updates from the E-Rate program going into 2021. Last week, I had an opportunity to jointly speak with our partner and E-Rate consultant, Jim Kerr at E-Rate ProfitWorks. So I'm going to be leveraging his slides to kind of convey that information to this group here. So starting first, a message to our Juniper partners who are participating in E-Rate here. Very simple formula. Understand the program. If you're new to the E-Rate program, you need to really get trained up on the program. You need to get your E-Rate SPIN number as well. You need to also market to the right audience, especially those that have Category 2 budgets and intend to spend it. They are the right size for you. They are the right product fit from, if you look at their purchase history, and they have some interest to and willingness to work with you. You have to be able to respond to a RFP, a Form 470. The E-Rate process requires every applicant to post publicly a Form 470. And if it's a complicated requirement, an RFP. So you gotta do that. You gotta successfully win that, and then help your customer navigate the Form 471 and PIA review process. The Form 471 is basically their application for E-Rate funding, and then implement the solution and be able to properly invoice both the E-Rate program and the school district for their share of the purchase. So the E-Rate opportunity, looking at it from a national basis, 55 million students US-wide, 104,000 schools, 13,000 public school districts, average 20 students per classroom, and therefore, as an estimate, 2.7 million classrooms. And I think that is a low estimate. Can you imagine that, an access point per classroom, all right? And then non-public K12 applicants are there as well, like libraries and charter schools and so forth. So we estimate at least $6 billion is available in funding year 2021 to be used for fulfilling these requirements. So a few words about some of the rules that were announced earlier this year in response to COVID. So the FCC issued waivers for the rural healthcare program and the E-Rate program around the gift rules. So they saw that there were a lot of vendors who were prepared to provide donations to school districts or applicants to help them improve their broadband connections to support education or telehealth as it applies to quickly shifting everything to remote learning here. So they've waived the normal gift rules up to September 30th, 2021 here. So that's one announcement. There is also ongoing pressures to see if this could be extended further as the COVID response continues into the year. There's also a reminder that they said that there were certain deadlines that were extended and temporary waivers on those. They also reminded schools and libraries that even though you're providing Wi-Fi through the E-rate program, you could extend it to the general public while they are still on school campus or in the library properties here. Okay, so that means that if a kid in the neighborhood does not have access to Wi-Fi, their parents can drive them to, say, the school parking lot and access the school's Wi-Fi from that to facilitate accessing their online learning. Okay, so that's the release and reminder they provided here. Okay, some rule updates for 2021. So the big one was Category 2 budgets would be reset for all applicants starting funding year 2021, and they will all follow the same fixed 5-year period going forward. They will not be staggered, and this would be for school district basis or school system basis. In the past, these budgets were established on the individual school campus basis, which was interesting, but it caused some problems if a school, individual school, did not have a need, but they had more than enough budget, and compared to maybe another school in the school district that had major needs but insufficient budget here. Now we're talking about a single budget on a per school district basis or library system basis here. Okay, the big number for school districts is it's set at $167 per student for the school district. All right, and there's also similar numbers based on square foot for libraries. So as an example, let's kind of walk through a school district with 1,000 students. So their budget would be 167 times 1,000, which is 167,000, and that would be a 5-year budget. But because this school district is a pretty high poverty number, a high number of kids on the National School Lunch Program, they will have 85% of their funding requests paid for by the ERIE program. So this is an 85% school district. So they can conceivably get 141,950 over a 5-year period. So they can spend it over a 5-year period. Here's an example where they spend 50,000 in 2021, gives them this remaining amount, and then they spend 27,000, 30,000, 45,000, 15,000 until they deplete that by 2025. Now, they could also decide to spend it all in 2021. That happens quite a bit if they're doing a major refresh of their switching infrastructure and wireless infrastructure. Okay, so there are tools out there by USAC to actually figure out what the budgets are for your school district that you're targeting here. So if you can't find it, let me know and I can help you kind of find out what budgets they are working with, because for some of these are substantial budgets that they are working with. Okay, so what are the eligible services? Here is kind of a quick list of the standard list. This is based on 2020. For 2021, the FCC has posted a draft, and here's the link to the draft, and they are asking for public comments to the draft. The deadline for submitting any public comments to this is September the 4th. So some of the things that we're seeing and hearing is that there's greater interest to allow technologies to bring Wi-Fi to school buses as part of eligible lists. There's also great interest to go beyond just a basic firewall to also include next generation firewall services, okay? So there's a few of these kind of high pressure requests that the FCC and USAC are considering, and they are formalizing this, and we expect that probably around the October-November timeframe, they will then lock down the eligible service list for 2021. Okay, I'm just going to switch. Okay, so just looking at the timelines. So today we're in August, so we're right in this kind of period here from July to February. This is when we are seeing applicants plan for their E-rate projects and their budgets. They are looking to draft and then post their Form 470 and file their RFPs. And this is kind of the quantity of these follow kind of like a hockey stick curve. We're seeing a trickle right now in August. This will start to ramp up in September and then really ramp up October, November, December. And then January, February are going to be like the wild volumes we're going to see here. In some cases, we see hundreds per day. In some cases, we see 200 postings per day from applicants across the country, okay? So, but the key thing here is that before they go out to RFP and 470, my advice to you folks is, if you're targeting a school district, make sure they have built awareness of your capabilities. Guide them through a discussion to inform them about the options available from Juniper. If you have a chance to also engage them on to kick the tires, to do a proof of concept trials, to do a demo, that's the best time before they lock their requirements down in an RFP. Okay. So then in the late January, March timeframe, the school districts will then file their 471. Basically, this is a online document that they'll put their request for funding down. They'll itemize the equipment that and services they're looking for, and tally up the total cost of this, and then based on their E-rate discount number, will request the E-rate portion to be funded through the program. And then you can see by time April comes in, April is the earliest time that a school district can in fact install their upgrades. Okay, so April 1st is the first, and then we're going to see funding commitment decision letters issued here. Funding commitment decision letters will formally announce to the applicant whether they got funded, whether they got denied, or reduced. Okay, so and a lot of times that's when applicants make contact with folks like like the partners on the call. We're ready to order, start install, and deployment, and then the funding year starts July 1st. Okay, so let me share with you some Juniper E-rate resources. We house all our partner assets on the Juniper Partner Center. I encourage you to work with your Securematics and Juniper account manager to set up a login if you haven't yet. The login will allow you to then access this content through this link here. And some examples of the content we have available for our partners. The major one is what we call the E-Rate Toolkit. This is updated every year. It is a multi-asset resource housed in a zip folder. You just download the zip folder and you get all this. You get the Juniper E-Rate datasheet, which is a detailed description of the E-rate program and the Juniper E-rate offers and other information to help you kind of through this E-rate season. You'll see call scripts. These are sample call scripts if you're looking to just prospect or you're looking to get clarification on some E-rate questions. We have some USAC resources, E-rate terminology, E-rate service providers guide to success, process flow. These three bullets are USAC documents. We have some boilerplates that you could reuse for your responses. References are always asked for. We got some bunch of case studies, brochures, and briefs as well. Here's a sample of some of our latest sales collateral. These are all followed by their URL where you can actually download it. I want to highlight several here. This one in particular is the Juniper Miss E-Rate Flyer. In fact, I think that's one of the assets that you can download from the GoToWebinar panel. You should be able to see that. There's also this asset, which is the Juniper E-Rate eligible services list. This is an 80-page document where we list every SKU that is most likely purchased by school districts and their E-Rate eligibility factor, a Category 2 E-Rate eligibility factor. We also have a solution brief here for contact tracing, a topic which you and I, we just covered, and you're free to access all these other documents through these links as well. For your inside salespeople or your salespeople, we have this two-page cheat sheet broken down by these sections: the industry challenge, solutions, eligible products, tips, top reasons, competition, and so forth. And many times also when you see a E-Rate bid, they may say brand X or equivalent. So for example, Cisco or equivalent. So we have a competitive intelligence tool found in our what we call Juniper Pathfinder. Here's the link to that, but you need a partner login here. Basically, you could do a side-by-side comparison of a Juniper product versus a competitor's product. So here's a page that does a comparison of our routers. Okay, there's also a different page for comparing switches. So as an example, you can set up a comparison, say the Juniper EX4600 versus the Cisco Catalyst 4500. All right, and it'll provide you a side-by-side comparison of the top parameters. And our consultant recommends that if you're responding to a bid that says Cisco or equivalent or HP equivalent, or you submit such a matrix and offer it to them to prove to them that the Juniper offering is in fact equal or better, and seek from them confirmation that this is an acceptable option for you to bid. All right, so you do this before the Q&A period ends. You get that question in and try to kind of get out of them a response, an affirmative response to this question here, so you don't waste your time should they decide to maybe just ignore that. Okay, so this would be a very helpful tool to look at. We also focus on total cost of ownership quite a bit here, and the reason why is the E-Rate program requires the price of the products and services of the eligible services to be the most heavily weighted factor. And basically they recommend school districts and applicants to come up with a bid evaluation matrix. And usually in the RFP, they will explain to you what their criteria will be. It could be 4 or 5 different items. They'll have a weighing and so forth. So it's important for you to kind of focus on that and know what's important here. But pricing has to be the most heavily weighted factor here. So we have some assets available to you. One is a infographic where we did a total cost of ownership comparison between Juniper and Cisco. We modeled it after 4 different size school districts, and over a 5-year period, looking at CapEx, total OpEx here, using publicly posted state contract discounts for both Juniper and Cisco here, we're seeing numbers of over 40% 5-year estimated total cost of ownership advantages for Juniper. So please leverage that infographic. And if you have a very large school district that you think would be worthwhile for us to model, give us a ping and we can help you through that here. We also have a similar tool for our wireless LAN. Very simple. You enter number of users, number of sites, the number of access points, and this compares the MIST wireless LAN solution against a controller-based wireless LAN system here. And you can see not only is there a CapEx advantages, but also a tremendous OpEx advantages, mainly because of the AI-based, machine learning-based proactive operations. So significantly reducing the time to troubleshoot issues, which is kind of the hallmark for this portfolio. All right, and the last piece is the E-Rate Resource Center. This is a landing page on juniper.net/E-Rate dedicated to helping visitors with E-Rate information, designing networks, how to apply for the E-Rate program, Juniper's eligible products and services. And it's also a spot where if a E-Rate consultant or an applicant or a partner or anybody has a question, they can submit their question in the banner, and we will turn around our response, within 24 hours or less. All right, and it's a quick way for folks to learn more and also ask questions or clarify things. I've received a lot of inquiries through this portal from consultants. I've also received inquiries from USAC through this portal as well. So I encourage you guys to use it if you have a question for us. Just for your information, I am the one who will be answering that. Okay, so my summary, I started off talking about the our recent year of wins around K12. In fact, our E-Rate business grew over 30% last year, which is fantastic here. And our customers are ecstatic about the solution. We're working into funding year 2021 with a brand new set of E-Rate 5-year budgets for all applicants. And if we were to look at what happened in funding year 2015, 2015 was the first year that funding model was rolled out, and it was one of the largest demand years from E-Rate applicants. We expect the same for 2021. We have a special set of E-Rate offerings, both wired and wireless, that we encourage you to leverage in your bids. I spoke to you about the issues about COVID and reopening schools. Proximity tracing is a solution that we believe really complements this effort, helps bring some confidence to the community in terms of opening up their schools safely, and leveraging the CARES Act elementary and secondary school emergency relief fund. And I've showed you all the partner enablement assets and where to find that. So bottom line here, we believe it's a great time for you to grow your K12 E-Rate pipeline with Juniper and Securematics. So with that, I'll leave this thank you slide and hand it over to our Securematics folks.
Hey, Gavin, that was great. Excellent points. What's interesting is I'm, listening through this, and we'll wait. I want to see if there's any questions here, so I'll make a comment. Is that usually the E-Rate season is around, talking to the IT department about what technology they need. It's a very competitive bid situation, and it's a very long lead time. What's interesting about this cycle with the CARES Act is that this is a really, an immediate need. These institutions depend upon it to get students back to work, back to school, and the reason is that's so important to, it's very important for the economy, right? Because when kids are back to school, then parents are back to work, and like you said, we have to do it responsibly, safely. So it just presents itself a very unique conversation. There's immediacy. You guys definitely, us together, have the solutions. The MIST addition to the Juniper portfolio is very timely, and the technology obviously plays well together and brings these solutions. I think given that the Juniper, missed union here, we definitely have something to bring to the table, all of us. So are there any, just want to make that comment, are there any questions we can answer? I know we only have about 4 minutes left, but be happy to entertain any of those.
Brian, while we wait for them to come in, let me also add to that here.
Yeah.
Across the country, there's different stages of districts kind of reopening here. All right, it is clear that the very young ones, the ones in say kindergarten to grade 6 elementary school, those are kids that are viewed to be the first to go to reopen schools, without any questions. Okay, so as districts are in counties that are kind of on the borderline, there may be options to kind of open, and by demonstrating you're taking some proactive measures to keep visitors, students, teachers safe here. And that's a very positive message that I think any superintendent, any board of education would like to kind of convey, because aside from buying pallets worth of Clorox bleach and PPE and all that kind of stuff here, at the end, it is knowing who's been exposed, because exposure, the CDC says, do plan for exposures to occur, all right?
Right.
Because it will pop up. It's not going to shut down the place, but you need a method to kind of quickly identify these folks and
Right.
inform them. And we also got to do it very privately here, because we don't want to disclose health information or their personal records. And the way we do it, we only locating the device, the BLE tag or the mobile phone or the device here. We don't in our system capture health records or personal identifying information. We leave it up to the school district officials to make that connection. We stay out of that. So our partners, Securematics, stay out of that as well.
Right. Yeah, absolutely great points. I mean, it's a new frontier. It's a very holistic approach, right? School districts don't want to just address the technology stack. They have to look at physical layouts, facilities, human resources, relating to kids, legal issues. There's a whole host. And what Securematics is committed to doing is to bring that conversation to the forefront by retaining industry experts to help navigate us all through this and to create the conversation and opportunities. So, it's just kind of pushed this whole conversation to the forefront, and we're excited to be a part of this.
Exactly. I just want to kind of reinforce your point earlier here is that all school districts want their kids to come back. They for the well-being of the student, and as well as the parents and the economy here, they want them back here. So if we can add to that conversation, show them how it could be done, leveraging this technology. And by the way, you could just deploy proximity tracing and using CARES Act, and you can get Wi-Fi free if you kind of look at it that way as well.
Right.
Or if they have a existing Wi-Fi infrastructure, well, we can overlay on top of that our BT11 BLE access points only as well. So there's different ways to skin the cat. And I'm also told that if a school district is looking to kind of shore up some of their infrastructure capacity because they've gone to remote teaching, they could use the CARES Act to cover their E-rate out-of-pocket portion. So basically, you would have CARES Act plus E-rate covering the infrastructure purchase as well. So it's kind of interesting times.
No, it is, Gavin, and what we're going to commit to do is, this is a journey. We're going to commit to more of these sessions so that we can, as we learn more, we could share more. And I believe that when it comes to, addressing this technology in these institutions, it's going to hit some kind of crisis level, which is going to accelerate things. So I want to make sure that we're all well positioned together. Our VARs, our Juniper, Mist, and Securematics, so that we can help fill this need. And I think you guys have done some awesome work at Juniper, putting this together. You have a very deep understanding of what's going on here. You definitely have the connections that can help articulate this to the different, I'll call them legislators, if you will. And we're really excited to be part of this effort. So with that, we're out of time. Thank you for joining. Thanks, Gavin. That was excellent. And please stay tuned. We're going to continue this journey. So watch your emails. We'll let you know when the next session is. And thanks again for attending.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
Goodbye.